What's up, everybody? It's the Best Spot Kid Smooth, and I'm back with another video, man. And I'm trying to make a case for Xbox, man. Oh my God, it's been bad, man. It's been bad. Um, I'm going to do this video because there's a tweet that that went out talking about like a little bit more in depth of what's going on and how pretty much Microsoft is treating Xbox like, yo, put up or shut up. You know, we gave you $7 billion for ZeniMax, and we just gave you $70 billion for Activision Blizzard. We want that money back now. Microsoft is treating Xbox like a loan shark. You know what I mean? It's like Xbox is the business, Microsoft is the bank. And they're pretty much giving them loans. And it's up to Microsoft, or it's up to Xbox to pay that back or find a way to get that money back. And Phil Spencer was betting big on Game Pass. And now the word is there is some internal talks and discussions whether to launch Call of Duty into Game Pass. Because it makes so much money. They figure they get their money back much quicker by just selling the game as is, and this is probably going to be the best Call of Duty in a long time. So there's internal discussion. It's like a catch-22 for Xbox at this point, right? How I look at it, you have essentially the biggest IP or one of the top 3 IPs right now, and you're in this particular situation that either benefits you or fucks you, right? Both can benefit you, both can actually fuck you. So they're in a situation where they have the opportunity to launch a brand new Call of Duty game, a marquee title of the year, or pretty much the game that's going to drive sales of the gaming industry this year. Everything's been down all year. Call of Duty, a Grand Theft Auto, and a Nintendo Switch was relied upon to bring up gaming revenue this year. This year's lacking everything but a Call of Duty, which is going to have to carry the rest of the year. They're in this position. This is the position they're in. Launch Call of Duty into Game Pass, right? For the first time, see, because the problem Xbox have, hold on, and I don't even think I'm going to edit this video. The opportunity Xbox has right now, right? And I know it's messy because I gotta think myself, if I was in this position, what would I do? Phil Spencer Xbox needs Game Pass to be at, 100 million, 150 million. You know what I mean? That's what it is. But the problem is you can't get there because they don't have 100 million consoles sold. You know what I mean? You do not have 150 million consoles sold. So you have an opportunity to increase sales of your Xbox and dramatically increase subscriptions of Game Pass. And the one title that can really do it for you is a brand new Call of Duty game. So this position Xbox is in right now, and it's like, do you launch this game in a Game Pass and see what it does for you? Because my thing is, sure, worst case scenario, everybody who's already paying for Game Pass downloads Call of Duty, plays it, right? And you don't get any new customers. The PC customers don't convert, right? It's just that everybody that's in there jumps in the Game Pass. You don't get new Series S customers. You don't get PC customers on Steam going to the Xbox store to play through Game Pass. That's worst case scenario, right? That's literally the worst case scenario. Best case scenario for Game Pass is that PlayStation customers and PC customers and new Xbox customers go over to Xbox to experience it on Game Pass, Xbox and Game Pass. So you potentially sell an Xbox, and you definitely sell a Game Pass subscription. So this would have to be a PC, console, and cloud simultaneous release. This just have to be like a prong solution. So it's available on Samsung TVs. It's available technically on mobile, Xbox consoles, PC, cloud, whatever. It's the true test, because there's no other game that can really do that. It's Call of Duty, right? Now, best case scenario is you don't launch it on Game Pass and you just put it for sale, and Call of Duty does what it does. You just hope that it has a record year and not a down year like last year. And if Call of Duty does what Call of Duty is supposed to do, then you're probably fine. Revenue's going to be up, sales going to be up, everything's going to be up. Every game Xbox can release this year leading up to Call of Duty can flop, as long as that one does what it's supposed to do, which it probably will. And I understand that. It was like, you either by going the Game Pass route, fuck up a large percentage of that, or you do something life-changing for Game Pass, right? And Microsoft finally sees the promise, right? Worst case scenario, by not putting it on Game Pass, you then obliterate. I can't speak, bro. You then put Game Pass on suicide watch, because people will revolt, unsubscribe from the service. Monthly active users would decrease. You'll probably lose subscribers more than likely. You know what I mean? Unless those other games like Indiana Jones, Hellblade 2, and Avowed like really does something surprising. So while their discussion about Call of Duty, now me as a Game Pass subscriber, a paying Game Pass customer, I'm completely against them not launching Call of Duty into Game Pass. I only wanted this deal so I could play Call of Duty into Game Pass, because I don't like buying Call of Duty every year. Matter of fact, I don't buy Call of Duty. I stopped buying Call of Duty annually. The last Call of Duty was a gift to me. The last Call of Duty that I faithfully bought was the one that came out in like 2015 after Ghosts. Was it 2015 or 2014? Advanced Warfare. And then after a while, I started skipping them, right? And then I ended up buying, I think, one of the Modern Warfares, the first one. And then, Cold War I thought was pretty good. I'm not going to lie. I like Cold War. I don't know if I bought World War II or if it was purchased for me, but I don't know. But yeah, so part of the big reason I wanted Activision to come through was Call of Duty and Game Pass, and then all those back catalog games and future games going to Game Pass. I completely bought into Game Pass. After a few years, my gaming purchases has gone down. I still buy games on PlayStation. I still buy games that I know for sure aren't going to Game Pass and whatnot. But the days of me spending $500-$600 on software each year gone since Game Pass. And then I know people look at that as a bad thing because I'm part of the problem. I'm not buying video games, but how I look at it, I think from a consumer's perspective. I don't always think from a business perspective if it doesn't benefit me. Microsoft gave me the option to buy their video games a la carte at full price, or consume, some games via their subscriptions at that point, $15, $16 a month. So which one I'm going to do? I'm already accustomed to paying per month for Netflix. I'm already accustomed to paying for like freaking Disney Plus, and I was already paying them monthly or whatever for Xbox Live. So why not? Why not? And I don't have to, I know I'm going to get Gears of War, I'm going to get the Halos, I'm going to get the Forzas, the Fables, whatever they're going to do. I know I'm going to get it in a subscription. No brainer. Now, the early years of Game Pass was fire. And not the early years, but from 2019 to pretty much 2022, there had where there was just bangers between first party and then the third party games they were getting. It was just a good time. Now you can see that had calmed down tremendously since the closing of ZeniMax and the closing of Activision Blizzard. It's been like little so-so titles. There's still some decent titles in there, but they've been so-so. Matter of fact, this is like Tomb Raider's third run. I'm actually playing that on PC. One of my favorite games, Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. But with all the stuff that's coming out, you know, them shutting down Tango Gameworks, which is still tragic, them shutting down Arcane Austin and whatnot, you know, people wonder, is Game Pass in trouble? Will they abandon it like they abandoned Zune and they abandoned Mixer and all the other stuff that Microsoft tucked their tail between their legs and gave up on? Or will they go back on their word where they stop launching major AAA titles that they have to produce into the service, since it's not generating new Xbox Game Pass subscribers? It's early in its growth stage and they kind of flatline. So you as a Game Pass subscriber, I'm worried that Game Pass goes away or the biggest value proposition of Game Pass goes away. Either option becomes a problem. So my thing is, it's like, okay, there is a case for Xbox Game Pass where maybe there's a smart adjustment that can be made where it can still keep its value and they can still potentially sell video games, because the word is that it's being cannibalized. You know, new games are being cannibalized. Hi-Fi Rush obviously is not going to generate a new subscriber, and because it's in Game Pass, it's not going to sell a copy. Hence why they put it on PS5. It doesn't sell a thing there. But you take a game like Sea of Thieves, where in launch day and date on Game Pass, sure, it got its sales on Steam. It got its sales for the people who weren't subscribed on Game Pass and whatnot. But it's really maximizing its potential on PlayStation. Number one seller on PlayStation for a game that's 5-6 years old. They literally just had the resurgence of income for that game. And it's probably one of the best supported games. If PlayStation was seeking someone to advise them on how to do a games as a service, it should have been Rare to advise them. They've been doing a hell of a job, a lot better job than Bungie. But let's talk about like what's a good compromise as a Game Pass subscriber? Like, what will you accept if your options are to get rid of day and date releases or to cancel the thing together? Both of them are pretty brutal and could cause a seismic shift in a brutal response from the consumers and subscribers, and they both will have a negative impact on Xbox. Xbox brand is already in the shitter. The morale, the trust is all at an all-time low. But what would you be willing to accept a change for Xbox Game Pass where it could potentially work for Xbox, the business model, and potentially work for consumers? I posted this on Twitter. I said, the Xbox Game Pass compromise I would personally accept would be your marquee AAA games, Halo, Gears, Forza, Fable, Elder Scrolls, the next Fallout, Call of Duty, your major hits, your AAA to quadruple A games, your known IPs. You don't launch them day one in Game Pass, and that sounds very blasphemous coming from me. But hear me out. Hear me out. Oh, my camera is being... All right. Maybe you don't launch those in Game Pass. How about on launch day, if you're a Game Pass subscriber, you get 20% off day one, off all versions of the game, whether it's premium, whatever, right? You can also put a 5-hour trial on all day one releases. So Game Pass subscribers get to try the game. You like it so much after that 5-hour run, buy it. You already get 20% off, right? That's a sell. That's respectable. Or you go hold out, wait for the 3 months to pass, and download the game. The other thing is unproven smaller IPs or like games as a service games such as like State of Decay 3, Sea of Thieves, South of Midnight, which is upcoming, games like Everwild. Those you take a risk and you launch those on Game Pass on day one. Those games you would launch on Game Pass day one. So with this model, I know it's a little bit of a mix of PS Plus, a little bit of what EA Play is doing, maybe a little bit of what Ubisoft is doing, but I think Ubisoft is more expensive. But with this, I feel like you're not totally taking away the day and date. It's just certain games, you want they can remain day and date, and then your for the stuff that the revenue drivers, those you put at retail, but you apply incentives for the Game Pass subscriber. That would be a compromise I would be willing to accept. Honestly, I would be willing. I'm not against buying games, but the thing is, if I want to be subscribed to Game Pass, why would I? The thing about video games and the difference between video games and movies, right? You can always rewatch a movie and stuff like that. There's some like finite thing you want with like films. If you find a good movie or something like that, you want to be able to always go back to it. So if they leave the service, same thing with music. If it leaves, you want to always find a way to have access to it. Video games, you engage with them longer during your sessions with them, and they all have an ending. At some point it all has an ending. In most games, I don't really go back, which ironically I have gone back to Tomb Raider. I'm going to probably beat that fairly soon. But generally I don't go back to video games. So my thing is, if I play it in a service and I beat it in the service, especially now that game's got trophies and achievements and you get 100% completion, chances are I'm not going back to that game. I'm not going back to that game. So the thing is, I don't feel a need to own it. So right now, me personally, it's like, yeah, I'm taking full advantage of Game Pass. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not mad at it, and I will do it. Now, if there's compromises that have to be made so that things can get in order, so that these studios don't have to shut down, and that game still has the ability to survive in this ever-changing economy in this market, I would be willing to give up their major AAA non-IPs day one. But in trade, you give me 20% off those games day one. You give me at least a limited trial of those games during this launch, but you still give me those unproven titles, those games as a service title day and date, the ones that actually rely on player count and whatnot. So what would you do? What would you think it is? It's like, does everything remain as is? Because we're in a situation with Xbox. We're in a situation where we're dealing with Xbox literally converting to they're going to be a third-party publisher fairly soon, and they just going to be one that it's like EA, it's like Ubisoft having its own box, right? But they sell to everyone. And we're just getting over that. It still sucks. There's articles talking about Hellblade 2 being considered for PS5 and stuff. But at the end of the day, man, I like Xbox. I like the ecosystem. And I like the games. I like the stuff. I like what I see coming up, and I can't wait to dive into them. But the thing is, right now, the only thing, when you consider all that, the only thing that you want to keep an Xbox around for right now, and due to the fault of the Xbox itself, is Game Pass. And we know that's not going to, they won't allow Game Pass on PlayStation or Nintendo until there's not an Xbox to sell. I'm gonna say this, and this video is not to be defending any company. I'm in a bad state now with gaming and stuff like that. I'm just not a happy camper. But the way you look at console gaming and the sales and how the gaming industry is like kind of all jacked up all over the place, and teams are being let go, studios are closing down, games are being canceled, things are being scaled back. We're in a situation where there's literally a situation. The thing is, gaming can be salvaged. It does not have to go away. It doesn't have to be this bad. It's just that we're in a situation where if somebody, whoever it is, whether it's Xbox, PlayStation or Valve or whatever, whomever, if one of these find a way to become the de facto host of video games or the app of video games on every device, essentially will walk out on top, because that's what it is. Because at the end of the day, yeah, consoles is one thing, but the more of these devices that can play video games releases, whether it's tablets, whether it's phones, TVs, computers, consoles, VR, whatever, the first one of these platform holders that can mobilize their experience to be just available everywhere will truthfully like win. And I know that sounds like a cap for Xbox. But now that I'll sit back and look at things and how they're treating all this stuff, PlayStation working on a PC launcher and all this other stuff, and Xbox already has one. They just need to really hone in and take advantage of it. You hear about them coming out with a mobile store in a few months. It's like they really have a real opportunity to actually do it, and that's really the only way to really survive how much the cost of gaming development is super expensive, and there's not enough people, there's not enough consoles to support the sales of these games. There's enough people, and there's probably enough devices, but people have to find, it's a battle for time, right? It's a battle for time. They're competing against X, they're competing against Netflix, they're competing against all these other things that there is to do with the devices that we walk around with or that's plugged into our homes. Like console gaming, I mean, gaming isn't dying, but in order for gaming to get where it's probably going to go, consoles are going to fall way into the background. But, this is my videos, Kid Smooth. This is the case for Game Pass, what I think should happen if they're considering, shutting it down or, going back on their word, or if they're not going to put Call of Duty in here. They should consider some of these options I'll talk about. And those options, I say, marquee AAA bangers that are expected to drive revenue. They don't launch day one in Game Pass. Delay those 90 days out of Game Pass, but provide 20% discount on all first-party games, provide a 5-hour trial or something for those games day and date when they release. Unproven, smaller, new IPs, games as a service should go in day and date, and if Call of Duty is not going to Game Pass day and date, because I know they were talking about a price hike, don't increase Game Pass. That's my video, guys. It's Kid Smooth. Xbox is the best spot, and I am the best spot. Good night or good morning if you're on the other side of the globe. I'm out of here. Peace.